Good Friday afternoon. Man, it's been a few weeks. It's been almost a month, hasn't it?
You're not allowed to have a break anymore.
I'm not allowed to have a break anymore. Well, so some of you may notice, some of you may not. We're live streaming today on YouTube, and we're also live streaming on my personal LinkedIn page. Why is that, you might ask? Well, not only did, all right, so I'll quickly rewind. A couple of weeks ago, my daughter and I went and scattered my wife's ashes. It's been on the plans for a number of months. No big deal. Around that same time, I got laid off. Not just me, lots of other people from where I was working. So good wishes to everybody that's out there looking for a job. Guess what? I'm doing that as well. I probably won't put up the green banner on LinkedIn, but I figured, hey, I've got a little bit of a platform. Let's go ahead and live stream on LinkedIn today, just because we can. So for all those out there looking for work, I'm right there with you. Let's see here. Karen, good to see you. Ingen, good to see you. Well, dial back in. Well, we're just getting back. By the way, since we're right here at the top, we're going to be gone for another couple weeks. Our next show will be on October 17th. So just make a note of that so I don't forget it at the end. Because I'm out next week. Vic, I believe you're out the week after that. And then it's just one of those times a year.
Who knows?
Who knows? Something like that. Okay. So this show's going to be a little bit different today. Same but different. Because we've been gone for so many weeks, I gathered a bunch of information. So we're going to blow through a couple of things. We're going to talk about some things. One of the big things that came out this week was the DORA report. We'll take a little bit of a look at that, but I haven't had much time. Yes, I've got time, obviously, but I didn't have time to look at that. I want to dig into it because there's a lot of AI stuff in it.
I'm a bit confused. Is now DORA, are there now two reports, like kind of AI, not AI, or it's only AI now?
Just like everything else, DORA has turned into AI.
There we go.
That's just the way it is. So let me go ahead and get into the show. Typically, we go through all the podcast episodes. Again, all the links are already up on the YouTube channel. So if you're actually watching over on LinkedIn, you can go over to YouTube as well and find all the links to everything that we've got here. We had, we had Jeff on. You and I we kept going down the AI route. We had Avery on from Tailscale. That was a lot of fun. Just talking about a lot of nerd stuff. I actually saw his post this week over on Blue Sky. And he says, I was reading the transcript. He was looking at one of our social posts that we put out. It's like, I'm reading the transcript. It's like, boy, that person that was smart. It's like, I realized it was me that said it. So Avery, way to go. And then again, some more AI things. And we've got more AI things coming up. Now, there are a handful of news items that I want to go into. Some will go into deeper than others. This is one I do want to spend a little bit of time on. The OpenSSF warns that open source infrastructure doesn't run through thoughts and prayers, or run on thoughts and prayers. OpenSSF, if you're not aware, is part of the Linux Foundation, as are many other people. I obviously am highly associated with the Jenkins project, which is part of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, which is part of the Linux Foundation. Did you follow that? Linux Foundation is my grandparent, if you will. This post encapsulates a lot of things that a lot of open source projects are seeing. Since the money has shifted to AI, a lot of the support for open source projects, the things that are making AI work, the things that are making your applications work in your company, the money's drying up. And what happens when Maven Central goes dark? What happens when PyPy goes dark? What happens when NPM goes dark after all of its hacks? What do you think?
Here's a question that I'm not sure yet that I know the answer is the money drying up from those foundations or from the projects?
That I cannot answer. I'm not trying to wave it off. I don't know the answer either.
Yeah. Because I would expect actually foundations to step in, and because they have income, invest in the infrastructure of those projects that they're hosting.
That's what I would think, but I don't know everything. But this post that's here on the register really goes into a lot of the things that we've seen within the Jenkins project as well. I am not speaking officially for the Jenkins project. I'm not part of governance. This is just me as a member working inside of the Jenkins project. This is the last paragraph sums it up. Because while open might still be free to use, running the infrastructure behind it is very much not.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, I can speak about Jenkins, AWS, and this is publicly documented on the Jenkins blog. AWS contributes. Azure had, I don't believe they renewed this past year. Google has in the past. JFrog currently is. I mean, a lot of people are donating, but even they have limits of what they donate. You don't get all you can eat when they make a donation. It's credits in some way, shape, or form. And once you burn your credits, your donation's used up for the year. So if you know an open source project and you're using it a lot within your company, if you're not donating back, if not to the project itself, at least to the foundation that it's a part of, please consider that. That's all I'm asking. Okay. Was that too harsh to start out with? I don't think so.
Oh, no. I would be much harsher. No worries.
Okay. I think we're going to get ready to go on a speed run here just for a minute. Docker and CNCF partnering. I don't know how I felt about this when I read it.
What's the partnership about?
Well, why it matters. Where's the about? Okay, a new milestone. Partnership brings more than just resources. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Why it matters. Strategic partner. Talking about Docker Hub, which would probably be the biggest out of all these. So maintainers get...
I'm mostly interested kind of who is giving what.
Yeah. That's the question, because I don't know. During the following days, all CNCF projects will have direct access to a dedicated bundle of Docker services through the Docker-sponsored open source program. Some key benefits are unlimited image pulls, sponsored OSS status, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so they're donating hosting for the images. Cool.
This goes back to the previous thing, though.
I was about to say, yes.
There is no such thing as unlimited when it comes to bandwidth. There isn't. I'm sorry. There just isn't. Somebody pays for it somewhere. Otherwise, it's not there to be paid for. Does that make sense? I don't know. And going back to this has always been a problem. But it's...
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, and, now everything, we are kind of, now everything is shifting to AI. Just to be clear, those things were happening all the time before, right? Kind of, everything shifted from, I don't know which foundation to CNCF, right? When Kubernetes became a thing and whatever happened before that and so on and so forth. Those waves happen all the time. People lose, rephrase. It's not that people lose interest. People don't necessarily lose interest. They continue using all those projects. Companies behind those projects lose commercial interest in them and move to something else. And then they stop donating infrastructure. Or they stop, and this is, I think, bigger problem that is not mentioned there, they stop donating maintainers. And then we have a problem.
Yeah, that's the big thing. So anyway, the basics of this looks pretty good, I would have to say, because again, to me, Docker Hub is still the preeminent image registry, correct? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Just sort of like how GitHub is sort of like the most source code. You still have GitLab, you have Bitbucket, you have these other options out there, but there's still usually a primary winner.
I think that there is a kind of a split that Docker is the primary registry for most third-party images, right? So you need Redis, you need Postgres, you need MySQL. It's most likely in Docker. It's in Docker Hub before anywhere else, right? Now, when it comes to hosting images from companies, I'm not sure that how much Docker dominates, right? Because simply everybody has a registry today. If you're using AWS, you're likely using ECR, and my apologies for that in advance. If you're using GitHub, maybe GHCR, Azure Container Registry, and so on and so forth. So from the business perspective, I'm not sure, but from the from the perspective of where do I find specific image, that's definitely Docker Hub.
Right. So anyway, read through that, especially if you're working in open source, just to make sure if your project isn't taking advantage of this, if you're part of the CNCF and your project isn't taking advantage of this, go take a look at it. Okay, a quick speed run through all the big Kubernetes providers. AKS Service Automatic, it's GA now, finally, which is the same thing as GKE Autopilot, but then Autopilot is now on all clusters available, right? Or at least qualifying clusters, if you will.
Yeah.
And then finally, I couldn't find anything about EKS specific around their auto thing, but implementing granular failover in a multi-region EKS. Just in case you're not wasting enough money yet on AI, here's another way you can waste some more money. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's going to cost you to do this. So
yeah,
it's a nice picture. And by the way, just in case you have nothing else to do, you can now add Raspberry Pi 5 as a hybrid node for your edge for EKS, which I have to admit,
that's gonna be great.
It may not be fast, but I could see some use cases for this because of some people that I talk. I know some applications that could actually use this in a very strategic way.
Yeah, yeah.
And why Raspberry Pi 5? Because you can. Because you can. So those are a couple of there. Okay. Here's the DORA report. Well, this isn't the DORA report, but I've got a couple of things that we're going to go through here real quick. Massive adoption meets major productivity gains. Okay, whatever. It's writing new code. Well, of course, we can have something write new code. I could have a generator just write new code all day, any day. Who cares?
I mean, using existing code is not far, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's second.
This is small, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's developers are using it in massive numbers.
So we'll just take a quick look at. Yeah,
somebody's mentioned, I think, in DORA, probably now I'm going ahead, but that 90% of developers are using it in some capacity or another. I don't believe it, just to be clear. There is always bias towards depending on whom you interview, but even if you slice that by half, it's amazing. It's a huge number, right?
So this is the amplifier, or the takeaway is AI is an amplifier. If your organization is already doing very well and highly functional, it's going to amplify that. If your organization is horrible and sucks, it's going to amplify that.
Exactly.
Right? It's going to be it's going to, in fact, there was a post here from IT Revolution. AI doesn't create organizational excellence. It amplifies what already exists. That's just a restatement. And I think that statement is better.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of key findings. It's almost become nearly universal. Again, I'm with you. I don't feel that. 90% use AI as part of their work and believe more than it has increased their productivity.
Look, if you say that if 90%, depends how you qualify somebody using it. It's kind of, hey, I used AI in some form or way for my work. Then 90% is a plausible number, kind of like, did you ever go, show me a person who never went to GPT to ask something. That person probably doesn't exist. That's then 10%, right? So it's what would be interesting to see in that report, how many people use it, let's say, on daily basis, or let's say at least twice a week, or something like that.
And it's interesting. The survey was conducted for about just over a month, 5 weeks, not that long ago, just June to July. Successful AI adoption requires more than just tools. Let me rephrase that. Successful adoption of any new technology requires more than just tools.
Haven't we seen that done like, let's say back in the day with CI, kind of, you want to automate? Of course you want to automate everything, right? That's not the question. Can you?
Can you? Yeah.
And it's not going to be only writing pipelines.
Right. Yep. I do want to get back here real quick. Ingen and both Dan brought up that AWS and EKS already had auto mode. Yes, but there wasn't a new a new piece of information, because it was funny that we had AKS go GA, we had some GKE reinforcing everybody gets auto, but AWS just didn't get the memo this week. I guess they needed to write something too. Advice: successful AI adoption is a systems problem, not a tools problem. Successful adoption of any new technology is a systems problem, not a tools problem. It feels like I've written these things myself.
So basically, what you're saying, and if that's what you're saying, we can agree that at any point in time we could replace AI with anything else, and each of those headlines would stand.
Probably a high percentage of the time.
Yeah,
a 90+% of the time. This one is interesting to me. A value stream management, the practice of blah, 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 acts as a force multiplier for AI, ensuring that local productivity gains translate into measurable improvements in team and product. If a human wrote this, I'll be surprised. This feels like AI wrote this. So here's where I think AI is going to be helping with data crunching, which it can do well. Maybe this is actually the birth of true value stream.
The big problem right now that I'm seeing is that AI is definitely helping, whether that's 2%, 200%, doesn't matter what's the percent, is definitely helping individuals to do better, faster, what's not. I have zero doubt about that. The problem is that within a context of an organization, that usually does not result in any real company-wide gains, because it's enough for you to have one weak link in a chain that all those individual gains disappear, right? Like back in the day, this was long ago, right? When people started working in sprints, they kind of, I'm going to deliver some value in a sprint in 2 weeks instead of 6 months that we were talking before, right? Say, yeah, that's absolutely bloody amazing. And we did it. And then it takes 4 months to test it, right? So those benefits from faster iterations of only a part of the process never materialized at that time.
Yeah. Oops, there we go. I was spinning through the documents, 142 pages. Again, I haven't had time to deal with it. It's really going to be the front of it. This will be light reading on the back porch this weekend. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, DORA report. So we've already looked at this headline from here. Great. There's the new DORA AI Capabilities Model, 7 keys to succeeding in AI-assisted software development. By the way, it has to be 7, not 6, not 8. It only has to be 7.
Trademark.
So there's capabilities model. Let's see if this looks familiar to anything we have seen in the past. In fact, I will blow it up a little bit more if it will let me blow it up some more. User-centric focus, strong version control practices, AI accessible internal data. Okay, we'll revisit that one. Work in small batches, clear and communicated AI. Okay, whatever. Quality internal platform, healthy data ecosystems. We recorded an episode yesterday that's going to come out actually in January, where we were talking about data. Data is the problem. Data is the answer, and data is the problem.
Yep. That's probably the biggest challenge. I mean, one of the two biggest challenges, the one that I said before, kind of like, hey, if actually your whole organizational process does not transform, then your individual gains are not that beneficial. And here's the second big problem, probably maybe even bigger one, is data, right? Companies did not yet manage to provide data needed for all that to work, right? Because when you work as Darin Pop, you have the data, it's in your head, assuming that you're kind of spend some time in that company. AI doesn't, and it's very challenging, very, very challenging.
So in order to have a healthy I don't know why I'm having a problem there, healthy data ecosystem, you first have to have, in theory, AI accessible internal data. That means you've got to munge all of your data to be AI accessible in order to have a healthy data ecosystem. There, finally said it right. Again, we could apply this same thought process to any of the other capabilities models, I think. So
I think that the data might be slight differentiation because that
Than the
wasn't
past?
so
Yeah.
important in the past, because you were behind the driver's seat, so your brain was data, right? And we could discuss how difficult would be for you when you join the company first 6 months because all those processes and information that you need to work effectively scattered all over the place. But then you pass those 6 months and you're a productive member of that company, right?
Yep.
And data is it's okay. It's your brain. This is different. This is slightly different.
that's probably the big change in this next big wave, I guess, is data has now really come to the forefront. Even though it's always been there, it's been important, but now it's everything.
Yes. And the absurdity in it is that I think that most of us do not realize when you interact with AI and when we get bad results, how much is in our heads, and we are really not wired to provide the same level of information as the information that is flowing through our head when we are working ourselves without AI, right? You don't even realize when you're writing code to fix some bug right now, Darren, how much of your internal knowledge you're applying to it, right? It just happens. It's muscle memory.
Right.
And then you try to write a simple prompt in AI and go, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't understand my processes.
Yeah. Anyway, more DORA stuff. A post here from AI isn't a bubble, it's a mountain. I read through it. It was like, oh, that's interesting. I added it to the list. I can't remember what it was because I read it last week, I think. So go read it for yourself. Spec-driven development, now officially, quote unquote, from GitHub. They now have Spec Kit. Have you played with Spec Kit yet?
It's too bloated for me. I don't know. All of those are just too much for me, to be honest.
Too much. Okay.
Somehow,
keep that in mind.
And then, not only too much, but too different from what I do. And I think that they're making some...
Yeah.
How I work. And also, I think that all those are somehow starting from the premise that the original plan is going to be perfect. And they work great. They generate the infinite number of tasks based on the specification and what's not. And the moment that AI starts going off the track, that all breaks apart. All.
We're going to look at something later that might help you with that.
Okay,
spec-driven AI development. So this is from, I can't remember. This is the guy that's from the company that brought us CCPM, which we talked about, I think, when we were here last or the time before last. Again, this is another one of those big spec-driven frameworks, and it looks pretty darn amazing. This is the guy that's sort of behind it. So if you haven't looked at Ron, there it is, Ron Arusi. If I messed up your name, I apologize. But again, CCPM to me is still, I think, the gold standard if you need an enterprise, heavyweight, get ready for waterfall type development system. That's what I think it is. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, like what we're going to take a look at, I would not want Boeing to use that to create a new airplane. I would want them to use CCPM to create the airplane. It's that level of good noise, let's put it that way. Just, it's extreme in a good way. A new open source project. No, I don't want to talk to an AWS representative. I'm sorry. No, thank you. A new open source project for scenario-focused AWS CLI scripts. Guess what? This is yet another way to create scenario-based. So just scenario-based. I can't remember. I did look at this. This was actually pretty interesting if you are in the AWS ecosystem. So take a look at that. I did have one tweet. This is too long, but it's about vibe-coded apps. The truth is, if you have a really good functional requirements doc and a good automated feedback loops, a lot of these issues can be dealt with. You agree or disagree?
No.
You do not.
I disagree. I do not agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simply, no, sorry. Let me rephrase it. I am not capable of creating really good spec document. I'm very capable of creating a very good starting point. And then I start fantasizing in the middle of the project and realizing different things and realizing mistakes I make and all those kind of, let me try to find a phrase that would describe part of the situation we're in right now. I think that this is the revenge of pre-agile project managers. Kind of, before agile, all the practices. Now let's put that into AI, right? And no. Agile is still a good idea. Adapting to the changes as they occur is still a good idea.
Okay. This is a long post, well, semi-long post, and a very cool graphic at the end, I have to admit. Bottom line is, if you know what you're doing, could have written it on your own, your chances of success go way up.
Yeah.
You feel that way too? Do you agree with that?
If you know what...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I still think that I think that code is equivalent to roads, AI is equivalent to a car, and I'm the driver.
Yep.
I'm driving that thing.
Okay. There's now a Heroku AI Studio in case you're wanting to do anything with that. Just because. Why not? Claude is now available in Xcode.
What is that? Is that the Apple
That's the
thingy?
Mac. That's the Mac IDE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which for me is actually a very good thing, because one of the projects that I'm looking at doing is going to put me back into Xcode.
Yeah. You're abandoning Claude Code.
No. But I'm going to have to use Xcode in order, because it's going to be an iOS app. So
Okay.
I'm going to need Xcode at some point to do.
I never used it. I don't know whether it's only for writing code or there is.
No. So it's debug and everything else. But it's the last time I wrote an iOS app natively with Objective-C, I've never done Swift, was in 2008, maybe 9. It's been a few years.
It's much sooner than me, which is never.
Yeah. This is pretty good. Rook is still alive. Yes, of course it's still alive. Java. Okay.
Heroku, isn't Heroku part of SAP now?
No, Salesforce.
Okay, Salesforce, same thing. Cool. Yeah, it will never die.
Yeah, and it still runs on AWS.
Yeah.
So it's, why not?
Nobody will ever start using it from scratch.
No.
But it will never die.
Correct. So Dan, there is a video. I'm trying to remember. I sent it out. It's very interesting. It was put out by the developer advocate team at Oracle that manages Java. It came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They don't like the phrase LTS. And it's actually named, I would have to go and look it up. In fact, if I remember it, I'll put it over in our Slack workspace, which you can go sign up for at devopsparadox.com/Slack. Yeah, it's very interesting how they don't call it LTS. I still can't explain it well enough yet. I've sent it to a couple of people and they're still trying to get their heads around it too, because they think LTS. All right. Completely different, but not different. Especially, Victor, with you and me, it's like, okay, used to we try to get at the top of Google. Now we need to get at the top of the LLM, whatever the top of the LLM means.
Yeah.
This post talks about all of that. I am starting to see requests coming in because I am looking for a new job, by the way. You can reach out and contact me at darren@planetpope.com in case you're looking for somebody to do what I do. But people are looking for, okay, yeah, we need all of our content to be AI optimized.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
But what does that mean? Well, and here's some of the things. It's like publishing content where large languages are most likely to access SEO. Formats like listicles, facts, comparison tables, and authentic reviews increase your chances of being cited. Okay? That'll keep things in mind. But
That feels like rules same like SEO, right?
It is. Well, this guy's an SEO guy, so it's what it is. But it goes in. I mean, that's what he's doing. But it goes into each one of these things in this post. So this is one I've bookmarked for myself. It's like, okay, what are the things I need to be thinking about? So,
But you know, one major difference now is that with SEO, you're optimizing to be the first page in Google, right?
yes.
I mean, ideally the first result in the first page, but let's face it, for majority of us, first page, good enough, right? There is no first page in LLMs. It's kind of either you are popping up as the answer or you're not. It's binary.
Yep. It's zero click. That's the problem. Is you're moving from one click to zero click.
Yeah, exactly. So you get the answer, and if you have, I don't know, let's say, which database should I use? This one, whichever one it is, right?
Yep.
If you're not that one, you don't exist.
Yep, that's the sentence here. Instead of relying on Google's 10 blue links, people get their answers straight from AI tools in an easy-to-read summary that's often been condensed and, unfortunately, without any clicks to your site.
Yeah.
So, content producers, beware. So that's one thing I'm looking at.
Change the profession.
Change your profession. I have 5 more years. Tessel, I'd heard about Tessel from Patrick Dubois way back when. And they, in these past weeks, have brought their site to life, or whatever the correct phrasing is. And it's the Tessel framework. It's for keeping agents on Rails. Great. Not on Rails, but on Rails. It's that phrasing of Rails, right? It's not Rails, it's Rails. It looks interesting to me. There's a spec registry under the hood. And in fact, these guys are, and I haven't tried it yet, I'll put it that way, but there is a registry here. I saw Patrick post today that there is an AI native DevCon November 18th and 19th in New York.
Yeah.
It's actually in Brooklyn. It's like, oh, great. I could go for 2 days. I could go visit my sister. I could do all these great things. I have jury duty that week. So there's also a virtual that's free. So the virtual is completely free. So if you want to find out more about this, so the CFPs are still currently open as we're talking on, what is today, September 26th. If you want to get a link to the site, you actually have to go to the comment. And I can't look at the comment because I'm not logged in. But anyway, if you go to the comment under Patrick's thing, there's a link to the site. And it's actually AI Dev. What is it? AIDevCon.io, I think. Nope. Here, I'll look it up. DevCon. Nope, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. This one. Nope, that's not it. That's a different one in New York. Brooklyn. And I remember Tessel was a part of it. And there we go. Okay, that was last year. So they've had it before. Phooey. That's last year's. Nope, there it is. Okay, good. Native deck. Okay, so it is. I don't want the bit.ly. Continue to do. You'll find it. Trust me. I know you can use Google better than I can today. AINativeDev.io. That's what I thought I went. Maybe I don't know what I did. But was that last year's? Oh, that's the 21st. That's the link from last year. Doesn't matter. Anyway, there's going to be a virtual too. The virtual, I believe, is completely free. And the price for the actual event, I think, was under $200, $200 US, which isn't bad. It's only a 2-day thing. So one day is talks and the other day is hands-on workshops. And that's it. And I think they're doing it near the Tessel office in Brooklyn. But anyway, that's that. A couple of tools, and we're going to get to our example. Oh, good. We got through. Gitalica. I'm surprised they haven't been taken down yet because they are. So this is Getallica performs a temporal diff analysis of distributed version control logs to help you understand code evolution, identify risk, and optimize team workflows, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. So inside of it is there's backed metrics, okay, whatever, DORA compliance, real Git analysis, and there. So I haven't installed this yet because I just saw it yesterday. It is coming to Brew, so it's not there yet, but you can run a health check for churn. It has all these different things. There's probably some interesting things here, but to me it's early, as in 2 weeks early, 2 weeks old early. So, but I thought the name was funny because they could do it. Attempt. Victor, you might find this interesting. I don't know. Probably not as cool as some other ones. So this is basically like, there's probably another tool that does this.
Is it like FUCK?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't used that for this.
But the cell, is it kind of like I made a typo in my command or
no.
Something like,
no, this is like a back off. So let's say right here, I can say attempt, you can do back off and stuff. So if the retry contains server not ready, so it's going to run SQLX migrate in this case. If that fails because of server not ready, it's going to retry it again.
Got it.
And you can also do an exponential back off as well. So this is just normal back off, whereas this is an exponential back off. I mean, that could be useful for things that if you're hitting something that is not trustworthy, I guess, that fails a lot. It just seems like a pretty good thing. Again, this is new as well, but I don't know if they released it as a 1.0 or not. And it's in Rust.
It's also, it's not, for that type of project, it's okay if it's new because that's not something I expect to have heavy development for a long time.
Yep. So that's Attempt. This is one that I was excited about, sort of. I haven't tried it yet. Local first AI runtime for Apple Silicon. So we've heard of Ollama before. Now we've got Osaurus. So instead of a llama, we have a Saurus.
Okay.
But it's a Phoenix, so I don't understand why it's a Saurus. So in theory, because this is only for Apple Silicon, which is good because that's pretty much every machine I own now, I can run this instead of Ollama, and in theory it is faster because it's going to take advantage of the silicon stuff. So I heard about one model today that's called GLM-4.5-Air. And they said that works great. And there's also a not dash error. So it's just the 4.5. And they said it's comparable to Sonnet 4. And according to its scoring, it doesn't look as fast as Sonnet 4. But now I could take this local model, run it in Osaurus, and try to see what happens.
If we're talking about the model I think we're talking about, there are rumors that might be Anthropic Haiku.
No.
It's
maybe
becoming a thing now to release, like Nano Banana, right? That's not really Nano Banana. That's how it was released first before it became official.
Well, the GLM actually comes from Z.ai, so it's a completely different. Yeah, but anyway, this will be interesting just to see how this compares against Ollama. So. Claude CMD is a bunch of commands all nicely bundled up so you don't have to write them. Just a lot of them, like project or productivity or Git or tasks or thinking, which I need to do.
Nice.
I wonder what that said. Okay, here. So let's take it. So there's a command ID, which is great, but let's look at view it on GitHub, and let's look at it raw because that's what really matters. So it has front matter, which is interesting. This is one thing I like that I haven't seen from a lot of other people who have been doing front matter, is it's got an initial creation and an updated. Now again, it's text.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see it right there.
Yeah.
Right. That's just a very interesting thing. So it just goes through and initialize. There's your step one. Hybrid, subthinkings, all the other things. There's so many words. It's like, oh. But anyway, it's just I've got a guy down the street that I've been turned on to this, and he's like, I really like this. Like there are a couple things here that I don't like. So he's went off and changed them and actually has found it. Let's see what they got for Go. Concurrency, connect RPC, web, connect. Okay.
In a way, it reminds me of Fabric, right?
A little bit.
The main value of Fabric to me was actually that it came with well-written prompts rather than anything else. Kind of. Yeah.
I agree. In fact, I've reset up Fabric on 2 machines just to get it, because I still had Python version on 1 machine, so I wiped all that out and got everything back. And one of the biggest pains in the butt with Fabric is before if you had a custom pattern, you'd have to copy things over, and now it actually looks in whatever directories you tell it to go look in, which is very nice. Agent OS is what we're actually going to do live here today. I've actually been playing with it a little bit. I don't have it set up on this machine at all, and I want to walk people through the concept. And then you've got all your videos that came out. Anything you want to mention about any of these? You talked about vector DBs. Watch them. Okay, just watch them. AI policies, that'll be it. Okay, so let's look at Agent OS. And Victor does have a hard out at the top of the hour, so that means I am on the clock now. So I've got 15-ish minutes. Let's see if we can do it. So if you haven't heard of Agent OS, it is nothing more, and forgive me, so the guy behind it is Brian. Brian, what is your name? Sorry, Brian. Brian Castle.
The name?
Brian Castle. That's his name. Under the hood, and we'll take a look at it, it is markdown files. There's a single YAML file, and there is a couple of batch files. That's it. So if you're on Windows, it sucks to be you, because you're going to need Mac or Linux to make this work.
Isn't WSL now what everybody
uses? Well, you could do it in WSL, but I'm saying in native Windows, you're stuck. You'd have to go to WSL. But yes, you're correct. This is much like CCPM or Spec Kit that we talked about earlier. This is in that family, but a lot lighter. Let me show you what it will do. So go to Docs and Setup. Okay, well, it takes you right there. Basically, this one page has everything on it. And it is really that simple, but it is that elegant at the same time. So it's not just prompts, it's complete context. So it will work with, I'm sort of pulling ahead here. It works with just by itself if you want to, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can also it supports Claude Code by using subagents. It also supports Cursor, which I have sort of kicked to the curb because I'm not using Cursor. So when you initially set it up, you can set it up with Cursor, Claude Code, or both.
Let me say that the name is very misleading.
I'm with you, but let's sort of go through there. So there's the context here, your standards, your way. Okay, so here's the layers. You have your standards, like what are my standards? And then we're building a product, and then we need specs if we're going to build a product using these standards, right? So the angle sort of makes sense. So your standard, you define your tech stack, your code styles, your best practices, whatever those are. Your standards live on your system in a local directory. This is your base directory. They are referenced from every project as you set them up correctly. You can set it once, use it everywhere, override as needed within the project. Then within your product, when you're actually ready to go to the product, you set up things that are specific to that product, your application, your whatever it is. And then you write your specs. Again, spec requirements document, SRDs. Again, we keep changing names, but hey, that's what we do in tech. Specs, and then task breakdown. So you have a document, you get the technical specs, you get the breakdown. So a document gets created here, everything you need. So here's what you have to do. You have to first do a base installation, and then when you're ready to work on a project, you start using it within your project. Now, how do you get to that point? So base installation. If you want it with Claude Code, you can copy and run this, which is what we'll do in a minute. Or if you only want Cursor, or if you want Claude Code and Cursor. What it does, And I miss these, like, I can't remember how many times I read this. It's like, I miss so much of this. It's like, click on the drop down. It will help you understand what's going on. So we'll create a .agent OS. So this is important to how those, remember I said bash scripts? It's not just the bash scripts. It's also going to be, because if you're using Claude Code, you know how you reference files by using the @ symbol? Well, there's @ symbols within the commands or within the markdown files that are there. So you don't want to just change that. However, you can put it anywhere you want. So wherever directory you're in for your base directory, like what I did and what I'm working on is I've got a Git repository that all these things go into. And you might say, well, how you keep it upgraded? I'll deal with that when I get there. But I know how I'm going to do it. So I'm keeping my base all set up, and then my projects will have their own. It'll make more sense when we get there. So anyway, it creates a YAML file, does all these other things. You can do a manual installation. They give you a step-by-step of how to do that. This is basically the bash script for the initial installation. This is all it does. He's just listing all out. This is it, though. So let me, since it's listed here really nicely, copy the standards files to a standard. So you have a tech stack, code style, and best practices. If you've got, for code style, you've also got HTML style, CSS style, and JavaScript style. So think front end. But here's the instructions. These are the only instructions that exist. You have analyze product. So analyze product is if you already have started on a project and now you want to get it into Agent OS. I'm air quoting here. The other thing is you have plant product.
Will the first one you mentioned, previous one you mentioned, will that create the styles and what's on the first layer?
So this will, it's going to figure out, okay, what am I getting myself into? That's what this is, analyze product.
Okay.
Whereas plan product is, okay, I'm starting greenfield. So let's walk through and do the design of whatever this thing is. And then from there, you have a create spec. So it's going to create the specification. And then once you get the specification all worked out, then you execute, I think it's tasks. And execute task calls execute task singular. And pre-flight is called, I think, in all of these in some way, shape, or form. So unlike what you were seeing with Spec Kit and some of the others, CCPM, where we had just this list of what am I going to run, it's boiled down to these, 4 to 5 things.
You don't
right?
need PhD to use it.
Figure it out. Right. So, and then you get into, once you have your base set up, then you start creating a project. This may be something that when we come back on October 17th, I'll have something a little bit more to show you and understand what's going on. But I at least want to get people understanding how to do the installation. Let me go ahead and stop this. And I am going to reshare my whole screen so we can see this. There. Okay. Okay. And I probably need to blow that up 2 more times, right? So how's that? That looks better. More?
Yeah.
It feels like I'm a eye doctor. More? Less?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That's best. Okay. So when you do the installation, let's go back up here. When you do the installation, you want to be in the directory where you want your base installation to be. So you could just be in your home directory, right? And it would be just on .agent OS within your home. Not a bad place to put it. But I want to be able to do some sort of, so I'm going to call this, I've got a directory here. So make dir -p base agent OS. Actually, I already have another repo, but that's how I'm going to set things up for now. Base agent OS. Now run this script, and notice I'm only passing in Claude code. If we wanted to take a look real quick at GitHub, GitHub actually makes it really simple too. Where am I? There we go. Open a new tab. GitHub makes it really simple. I'm probably going to blow up 2 here. So this curl line, notice that it's calling Agent OS main setup base SH. Now, when I do that, main, that means I'm running on the main branch. However, he's been doing releases for this. So I don't know if he means to actually be installing from main all the time, or if he meant to, hey, if you want 141, go here. Now, there haven't been any changes since this release, so in August 18th. But if we take a look at setup, go to base, go to raw, we can see there's a handful of different options: override instructions, overwrite standards, overwrite config. These are the use cases to when I'm doing an upgrade, like when there's a new version of something. We could overwrite those or not, which is the reason why I want to use Git. And then the other options are Claude Code and Cursor. And those just copy in the things that we would need for either of those things. That's basically it. This script is safe from my perspective. So I do this. Okay, so let's look at that. Be installed in the current directory, creating the base, downloading setup functions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's the latest version of Agent OS, right? There's no way for me to pass in, okay, give me 141 instead, which I would want anyway, because that would make sense. There's some meta instructions pre and post flight that is documented pretty well. You can see where things are installed to. So my GitHub base Agent OS, there's that .agent OS and standards. There's those files. There's these things. There's my config YAML. There's the project SH, which is what we would run when we're ready to set up a new project. Mm-hmm. And then since we're doing Claude Code, there's agent templates, or specifically sub-agent templates. So they have Git workflow, file creator, date checker, context fetcher, and test runner. Just that's it. So if we take a look at it, this is everything there is. Now, what does that really mean? Well, let's take a look at it from here. Because one of the things that, and I'm in a different screen, so let me come over here and let me blow it up. So what we have is this. There's Claude Code. There are all the files that it said it created. I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. We have standards, which is probably where we're going to live most of the time, because I can't remember, did it say that? Here's the next steps. Customize your standards in standards. Configure project types, which is what we're going to look at in a second. And then navigate to a project directory and run that project setup, which we're not going to do here today. But here's the standards. So I have tech stack. Come back over here. So obviously he's a Rails guy because that's his framework here. So I could start making changes to this one, but this is the default one. So I could make all these changes. I like how he, stacks out everything. I mean, everything is here. Well, there's probably some things missing, but things I haven't thought about. Pretty cool. Code style, he's writing XML. And if you go to his YouTube channel, he explains why he uses XML. I don't understand, but because I think it was late at night, meaning like it was 8 o'clock at night, and I wasn't remembering anything. I like this. Use 2 spaces for indentation, never tabs. Where do you fall in that camp?
Tabs never. You're fired.
Okay, good. All right. So you like this one. This is a good standard to you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure. So it goes to that, and then we talked and then best practices. Again, there's a lot more XML here talking about what to do. Right? Prioritize code clarity over micro optimizations. Yes, every day, all day. So config XML or config YAML. Sorry, not XML. So here, remember I said when we did the installation, it came from main, not from the tag. Mm-hmm. But the Agent OS version is showing 141. To me, that should be main. Okay. Right? Because that came from main. Again, detail doesn't matter. Agents, Claude Code enable true because that's when we installed it. We installed it that way. We didn't do anything with cursor, so that's why it's false. And right now there's only one project. That's this top level thing within standards and instructions. And we take a look at instructions. There's core instructions. We talked about that of create spec, right? So create spec creation for Agent OS, generate detailed feature specs aligned with product roadmap and mission. This is where the pre-flight comes into play. Notice how we're calling .agent at .agent OS instructions meta pre-flight.
Yeah.
So I believe part of, again, not joking about the XML stuff, he says, for whatever reason, the agents, meaning Claude Code and Cursor, handle this XML pretty well. They understand the opening and closing stanzas.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And this isn't crazy XML to me. That's just like calling tags out. And they're not specialty tags. They're just, they're matched.
Yeah.
And the agents know how to parse that out. And it goes through all that. But remember, his was all set up for Ruby on Rails. I'm not a Rails guy. So what I can do is, you notice here that the default project type is default, which references back to this default. Now, I'd probably leave that in there just as the gold copy, right? And never use it.
Sure.
Because I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say Spring Boot, right? Or whatever. What is going to be you're just going to say, maybe yours is going to be Go Cobra.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that. And then you're going to have your own set of instructions that you're going to put into a special folder called project_types, which doesn't exist here. So you come in here, create a new folder called project_types. Doesn't have to be that. And then what you would do is, I put it in the wrong place. Make sure it's under Agent OS. And then you're going to copy in your instructions and standards folders. So let's say I'm going to say new folder here. So I'm going to say Go Cobra. I'm going to say Spring Boot. This is about as far as I got in setting up, because I was thinking about projects I've got. So I copy instructions and put it under Go Cobra, and I copy standards and I put it under Go Cobra, and I put that underneath there, and I put that underneath there, right? And then I would just say that. And of course, I would set my paths up correctly to point at the right location. It's not in my home directory, or not my personal home directory. And then I would start going in and modifying the files in standards, right? For Spring Boot, I would say, okay, Java 25. I would say Spring Boot. And that's the other thing, once you take a look at the documentation, again, this documentation, it's all on this one page. Everything's in this one page. Now, there's a lot of places to where things are collapsed. You'll want to uncollapse things. But this feels like, again, you may not like it, but this feels like a good lightweight compared to the other things that we've looked at.
Oh, yeah. The one improvement that I would really like to see, and maybe not improvement in this project, but I'm going to try it this weekend. If I can point Cloud Code or this project or whatever and say, here's the project, extract the standards.
Ooh.
That would be awesome.
That would be...
Because I'm capable of writing standards, but not in one go. So
Right.
how I see myself doing this is kind of, oh, you messed this up. You put tabs instead of spaces. Let me write it down.
Right. Well, maybe you could feed it these base standards files. It's like, hey, here's a generalized tech specification or tech whatever.
Yeah.
Go and reference this project and rewrite this standards file in the context of this project.
Yeah.
And let me know when you're done. Something like that. So,
but you know what would be good as a suggestion for the project? Some kind of a prompt. Doesn't have to be complex, because if I just go directly to Cloud Code, it will likely not be sure kind of like, what am I really looking for?
right.
In the code. So more like instructions to AI. Okay, so analyze this code. Look for this, and that, and put it here, and here. Type of. Especially since this is, if I would be doing it without this project, Cloud Code would probably do a better job actually, because it would create probably some markdown file, right? But this project expects specific format.
Correct. So it's
kind of
it's gonna be a
teaching
mix.
it what that format would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a quick look at Agent OS. Again, it can be found at buildermethods.com.
Then we get the real demo, you said, in 2-3 weeks, right?
October 17th, I'll have something a little bit more hardcore here. But I want to show at least how to get it set up, because the setup is it's not hard, but it doesn't make sense. So, and again, for me, the way I've got it set up is I have my own Git repository where I'm putting all my base stuff. Because at the end, once I actually go into the project and run the project, then it will have its own set of things, but it will know how to reference back to the base installation on where my machine is. That's that. Luther, I want to call this out, and then Victor has to go away, and so do I, because I have to get my dog outside. I want to see the survey of Java versions used in enterprise and how Java 8 is still like 20%. I would say Java 8 is still probably closer to 60%. I would not be surprised to still see Java 6 at 20%. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. So hopefully AgentOS might be useful to you. I'm going to give it my best shot because it feels like it feels like I can force Claude Code to do what it's doing, but I don't want to. Whereas this is probably the lighter weight, and I don't want to go all the way to CCPM or SpecKit. So that's where I'm at this point. So we'll see if it makes it or not. So again, Victor's got to run. I got to run. So we'll see y'all back in a few weeks, whatever that is, and we'll talk to you then. And I will try to remember to get that LTS video out into the Slack workspace. Please join the Slack if you haven't done it. Everybody have a great weekend.